Hello everyone, welcome back. You're watching Empyrion Galactic Survival episode 171. I'm Enigmaeus and today we're releasing the blueprint for the MineOrb Mk II. This is a hover vessel with mining turrets on the underside and kind of a roomy interior, all things considered, as hover vessels go. But it's not an especially large hover vessel compared to some of the other ones that we've done. The original MineOrb was a fairly small hover vessel, and it was kind of in a sphere-like shape, as close as you could get to a sphere with a ship that size and the limitations of the voxel building system. This ship is a few times larger, I guess, if I was to give a rough estimate. And if we were to make it in a sphere, the whole thing, it would be, I think, a little bit too large. It would be impractical. So we've got sort of the hemisphere going on. It's well protected on the outside. It's not wielding all of the best of everything. It's got 4 rocket turrets, 4 plasma turrets, and then down just on the underside is 4 minigun turrets for handling critters on the ground and anything that happens to sneak in on the underside. Maybe something spawns there, or maybe in a PvP environment someone scoots past. You never know. It could happen. We've also got the 4 mining turrets on the underside. We've got a little bit of a bubble here. And this is also the entrance to the interior, designed specifically for people with jetpacks to jump up and into the ship. There's no ramp. You could add one if you really wanted one. I didn't really think it was necessary. And sometimes with these small space entrances where we don't give ourselves a lot of space to manage the entrance, it's very difficult to get enough head clearance to have a ramp that brings you all the way up conveniently. So with the jetpack, it shouldn't be difficult to jump inside. You can close it behind you, and it's just like a floor. Inside, like I say, is a little bit on the spacious side. It's definitely following the whole circle theme. We've got the great big window up top so that you can look up and see something through a circle. I guess it's not that important. We have a ventilator. You can see the sun was kind enough to illuminate it for us. It's basically for this chamber, the central chamber only, I guess would be one way to say it. The little antechambers here with the doors for the drill access are not intended to be pressurized. They were originally intended to actually have a hole in them, so it would be impossible to pressurize them, and then you would be able to access the drills through that. But I found out, a viewer pointed out to me, that you can't just walk up to a turret and press F and access it. I could have sworn that you used to be able to do that with turrets, but clearly I was mistaken, because you can't now. Whatever may have been in the past, either I'm remembering it incorrectly or it's been changed, one of the two. So that's something to keep in mind. We're just going to close these up so that it's a little bit easier to keep track of what's where. So we've got the main cockpit here. If you actually want to pilot the ship around, move it around, this is where you do it. We have the ventilator providing oxygen to this chamber. We've got the 2 oxygen stations that are, as usual, relatively accessible from the entrance and painted a color that stands out relative to everything else that's going on in here so that they're easy to spot. The whole idea is if the ship, for whatever reason, isn't pressurized and you come in here and you're in a bad spot and you need oxygen quick, you want to be able to find and get to the oxygen stations as quickly as possible. So that's why I do that. 2 fridges here and a constructor, 2 fridges there and a constructor. In fact, everything is basically mirrored. One of the side effects of using the mirror mode for building and including the equipment is that you get the same stuff on one side as the other. And I do that because it's good to have a certain amount of redundancy. If something happens on this side of the ship, something gets damaged, there's a hole in the hull, someone shoots through it, wrecks some stuff, you have backup over here, so you're not necessarily disabled the first time someone punches a hole in the room that has your generators and fuel tanks like that one over there. All of your storage is in the back 2 chambers. We've got ammo storage, we have harvest storage, O2 tanks, which are kind of superfluous now. You don't actually have to access them to add oxygen to this system, but they're here anyways, and general storage is here. And of course we have the same thing on the other side, this way, over here. So you've got all the storage that you could reasonably expect to need under most circumstances, with room to add more or move things around if you wanted to, if you wanted even more space between the ammo containers and everything else. It's not a problem. Now the main feature of the ship turned out to be a bit of a bust. The whole idea was we were going to have these drill turrets like you saw on the underside, and then to make it easy to select the turret that you want to use, you would have these little antechambers in here that you would be able to go in and access the turret directly from here. That wasn't an option. A viewer pointed out that it might be worthwhile to use these shutter blocks, and I decided to use them. I think I used the wrong ones. These are shutter blocks, but they're opaque on the other side. That might be a little bit problematic. Realistically speaking, there was a situation whereby I set up these passenger seats because it says you can't access them unless you're in a passenger seat or a cockpit. If you hop into this seat and you press Alt, you can move the camera around and you can actually sort of aim in the direction of the turret, and you can see at the top of the screen it gives you the little dialogue reminding you that you need access, because you're actually in a position now where you're pointing at the turret with the crosshairs, I guess would be the way to describe it most significantly and most accurately. So once you know that you've got the turret under the crosshairs and you're in the passenger seat, you can press P, and we go to devices. The specific turret that you're aiming at will be highlighted automatically for you. If you weren't aware of this, this is actually a really handy tip for any kind of equipment in your ship. I use it a lot with lights. When I want to change the properties of the light, you can target the light specifically, and then it doesn't matter how many lights you've got, because as soon as you bring up the menu, the light will automatically be highlighted on the list for the one that you want. From here, you've got the turret activated, and then you just say access, and now we're upside down, which is potentially a little bit disorienting at first, but you can see, yeah, we cannot drill this. That's good, because I didn't actually really want to put a hole in the concrete, but I wanted to demonstrate that we can shoot the drill. One of the things you'll notice is this is as far as the drill goes. The turret or the barrel inclination only goes this far. If you wanted to hit something that this turret can't reach, you've got all of these other turrets that probably can, and that was the reason for having all four of them specifically. It wasn't just redundancy, it was that by having all four, you could just switch to a different turret if you couldn't reach what you needed to, and not necessarily have to move the ship every time you wanted to do that. It was supposed to be easier than it ended up being in terms of the finished function. I noticed when I was testing it earlier that sometimes you hop into the seat, and when you press Alt to free up the camera so that you can look down and basically target the turret, when you're in a different seat, maybe it doesn't work sometimes. Inconsistencies like that, they kind of really take the wind out of the whole concept. Let's see if this one will be any different. So we're in the seat like we were before. We press Alt, and you can see, maybe you can see the crosshairs disappear. You can hear the little noise that confirms that I just pressed Alt. But when I move the mouse around, it doesn't do anything. And there's no obvious reason for that. So it's got 4 drills. It's kind of a neat shape. I like the way that it looks inside, especially when it starts to get kind of dark outside. I also like it when it's bright outside and the sun is shining down through here. You get the sort of lattice shadow effect on the floor. I wouldn't really personally say that this is my best mining vessel design, but it's a fun platform if you wanted to make some modifications to it. Maybe you want to put some drill lasers on here and figure out some way to get this guy tipped. Or maybe you like the way that it's set out. Maybe you have a different idea about how you would go around or go about accessing the turrets. It's up to you. As far as the build, I'm calling it done because I sort of got as far as I had planned to go and did as much as I could with what I had. And that was basically it. That's as far as we got. So look at this one as an experimental build that has, I mean, it functions. It just didn't work out as I had originally planned that it would, and that's kind of inevitable sometimes. So the next episode, we're probably going to look at some testing with the weapons on our little pre-made core vessel chassis that we showed you in a previous episode. Actually, I think we can scoot through the wall and find them here. These guys. I haven't really had a chance to do much with them since the last episode when we looked at it, but one of the things that I decided might be a good idea is to test and see if having all of the available fixed turret weapons, which is all you can mount on a small vessel, they don't have turrets, but if you have all of these guns, can you get like a better rate of fire if you just cycle through them and fire, as you would if you had just the most up-to-date tier of each type of weapon? We'll see. I'm going to do some experiments. We're going to set up a little test range and see what we get. That'll be the next episode, and then the episode after that we'll have a new build, and I'm just starting to get the ideas in my noggin now, exactly what that will involve, but I expect that it'll be another relatively small one, I think. You never know. We'll find out. If you want to be notified when I add the next video, the easiest way to do that is to subscribe to my YouTube channel or follow me on Twitter. Link information for following me on Twitter is in the information box below the video. Feel free to leave your comments and feedback. Thanks for watching, guys, and take care.